2 years ago, everything changed for the people of Gaza. The attack by Hamas on October the 7th triggered Israel's war on Gaza, which has killed more than 67,000 people. Today, we look at how the events surrounding that fateful day unfolded, what really happened, and what did most of the world's media lead us to believe. Hello and welcome to Roundtable on this special edition from Istanbul. I'm Enda Brady and I'm joined by Ernesto Katzenstein. He's the author of October the 7th, Hamas Against Israel, the myths, the propaganda, the truth. Ernesto, you're very welcome to Roundtable. First of all, just tell me, what prompted you to start investigating the events around October the 7th and the aftermath?
Thank you for having me. There was a lot of information around in the news. And when I saw the field where the cars were parking in the Nova Festival, there was a sun there, and the sun is burned. And I asked me, how could Hamas burn sand? And then I saw car, but the car was not burned, they were demolished. And I asked, how could Hamas demolish these cars? They went with paragliders, in motorcycles, in bikes, in cars. They have light ammunition, they don't have heavy artillery. This was impossible, the result of Hamas. When I saw the destruction in Beirut, I saw this is impossible, had been caused by Hamas. Hamas don't have these kind of weapons. And then some days after the 7th October, I think was in the first week, Eyal Karim, the chief rabbi of the Israeli army, said that many soldiers are so heavily damaged, their bodies, that it will take long time before they can be identified. And it will be necessary to use advanced technology. And I ask myself, what can this happen? What happened to these bodies? Are they completely destroyed by ammunition from automatic weapons? This puts some kind of doubt and work in my head. I have I get a question from the editor to write a book, and I said, okay, we'll try. I am not an established writer. I have wrote a book about my grandfather, but that was mostly a familiar issue. And then when I started to investigate and discovered a lot of things, one of the most important confessions from the Israelis themselves was when Mark Regev, the spokesperson from Netanyahu, said that in an interview with Mehdi Hassan, we had said 1,400, but we have to reduce to 1,200. And his explanation was the following. Some bodies were so badly burned that it takes a long time to identify them. And we thought it was ours, but then it shows that they were Hamas terrorists. And I say, okay, let's think about this. What that means? That means that these people were probably killed by heavy artillery, missiles from drones or airplanes or helicopters, who were a lot of them on the whole zone of Gaza, a couple of hours after the attack started, around 9 o'clock in the morning. The attack starts 6:30.
And tell me, do you think Israel's response showed a very callous disregard for its own people, the people who were living in kibbutz, people who were living in settlements near Gaza?
Yes, there is a policy that was created in the 80s in Lebanon. It's called Hannibal policy. And this policy says, better to be dead than to be prisoner. It's not formulated like this, but this is the content. This has been applied before. Most known is the case of Hagar. A soldier was captured in Khan Yunis in 2014. And when the notice went that his soldier was lost, that means he was prisoner, the Israeli army make a campaign in this zone and killed 300 Palestinians and was sure to kill the soldier also. About this, there is a report from Amnesty, from United Nations. There is a page on Wikipedia. So it's nothing mysterious. This is reality. And what it was, when the war started after the attacks on 7 October, the Israeli army met this policy in place. And they killed a lot of the people. We don't know how many. And this was confirmed by Yoav Galan, the former Minister of Defense, when in February this year, she said in an interview in Canal 12 in the Israeli television that yes, the Hannibal directive was applied in some places, should be applied in more places.
Tell me, Ernesto, I want to discuss the intelligence failures around October the 7th, because many military analysts felt that Israel catastrophically let its people down, not knowing that Hamas was planning an attack, and then the subsequent response. We know it was a Jewish religious festival around that time.
Yeah.
How concerning do you find that intelligence failure?
Well, the intelligence failures are a technical part, which is they moved troops to the West Bank because Netanyahu wanted to satisfy Ben Gvir and Smotrich and provoke the Palestinians and support the settlers, killing their ships and burning the trees and attacking the cities. But there is another part which is more important, which is the political or the psychological. Israel was convinced that Hamas was too occupied governing Gaza. Gaza was a country. It was double the population that Iceland, Estonia. It's very little, but it was a country, and you have to govern it. And the government is still functioning in some way. They count the deaths and so on. So there is the Hebrews.
Yeah, hubris.
Hebrews. They believe they had the terror, Hamas. Hamas is occupied governing. They don't have the capability. They are convinced we are winners.
You believe that the Israeli government didn't take Hamas seriously?
Yes.
That they didn't think such an attack was possible?
They didn't think such an attack was possible. They had a plan, the plan for the attack. They had collected in one razzia or something 1 year before. It was called the Jericho Walls. This is a description of this plan. But they didn't believe they could be applied because Hamas don't have this force, don't have this volunteer, they don't have this courage to do this. This was the myth of the deterrence. Or this was the most terrible thing that happened on 7 October the 7th.
But my point, though, is how did they not pick this up when they're capable of listening to mobile phone conversations and human intelligence on the ground in Gaza? Clearly, Israel had operatives working for them, and they did not pick this up. Do you believe they didn't know?
Yeah, I believe they did not. Because one thing that Yahya Sinwar did in Hamas was to control and to eliminate, probably kill many of the spies for Israel. So this is one part. The other part is, I don't believe in the theory that Israel permitted that to happen, so to have an excuse for attack Gaza. They don't need an excuse. They attack if they want. Mm-hmm. But I think proud in such heights is an illness, it's a disease.
Pride goes before a fall, as they say.
Spies go before intelligence, goes
Tell
before
me,
Russian.
The then reaction from Netanyahu and what many people feel has been a completely disproportional response to the attack on October the 7th. How much do you think the hurt and the anger of not picking up the intelligence has shaped Israel's subsequent war on Gaza?
Of course, there is very much of this proud has been hurt by Hamas. Hamas is I said Gaza was a country, a little country. Mm-hmm. under a boycott, close borders for 17 years, and they managed to break down this barrier or this wall that cost, I heard numbers about $1 billion. I don't know if it's true or not. It doesn't matter. It was very advanced, very electronic, and Israel is selling this to all countries in the world. And Hamas showed that this is not worth nothing. There is another thing. Is Israel was created by the Zionists as a contra image of the poor, disgraced Jews in the shuttles in Eastern Europe. And the new Jew in Israel is the Sabra. Sabra is the Arab word for cactus. And cactus was used for the Palestinians to divide fields to the border. And this word was taken as the symbol. The new Jew was a macho, a warrior, a man with a spade in one hand to cultivate the earth and a weapon in the other hand.
And tell me, Ernesto, just looking at the aftermath then of October the 7th, tell me how you felt the Western media covered the attack. Were you concerned that Israel, there are some claims that Israel peddled propaganda to the West? Well,
I have made some notes, and I put, before this conversation, I put the title was The Other War, the War on Truth. Of course, there is two wars. One war is killing Palestinians in Gaza and in West Bank. The other war is the war in the rest of the world about the truth. And Israel has a systematic way propagate lies, and they are conscious of that. There is, I think that is very, very important. There is no investigation about what happened on 7 October.
So at Israeli government level, nobody's looking at it?
Nobody's looking at that. The Israeli army made an investigation, published a report in Hebrew, 19 pages, 19 is nothing. The United Nations presented two reports in June 2024, and one what happened in Israel, one what happened in Gaza. And there are 40, 50, 60, 80 pages, I don't remember exactly, but thick, very well documented, but on information in second hands because Israel doesn't cooperate with the UN.
Yeah, but going back to my question about media and how the Western media covered the story, do you think they were fed some misinformation from Israel? Because there were a lot of headlines about beheaded babies.
I should say it like that. The politicians and almost all journalists, you are a journalist, but almost all journalists in the West are just parroting the lies and the propaganda from Israel. And they don't put any question. I think the most important question we have to look at this, my book is about this, is the politicians, the government, the Israelis are saying that the recognition of the Palestinian state by United Kingdom and other countries was a reward for the people that kill babies and rape women and destroy houses and so on. This is a lie.
How many people of the 1,200 who died in what was an appalling day in Israel, how many of the 1,200 do you think may have been killed by Israeli military forces?
I have no idea. What I know is that the Israeli army killed people in several places, in Be'eri, in the Nova Festival, in many other kibbutz. I know that General Rosenfeld, who was the commander of the Gaza division, asked for his base to be bombed by planes. And there is recognition from many, many people that there is a massive amount of information that the Israeli army killed people. I can't say how many. I have no idea.
Ernesto, in Israel itself then, and I should point out to our viewers that you are of Jewish descent yourself,
yes,
that's correct?
Yes.
In Israel itself, how does the public feel about this? Has this information been published in Israel? Are people aware that there are some serious questions around October 7th and that narrative?
I haven't been in Israel since October 7, but what I can see is a very, what has been in Israel before, it's a very fragmented society. Now there is the families of the people which is caught in Gaza, which all the people say hostages, which is a lie. There are prisoners of war. All the prisoners today are military. There are legitimate targets. They are not to be considered hostages. But in Israel, the people don't want to see, to hear about the genocide. They only care about themselves. But the society in Israel is extremely divided. Some people talk about there is two states in Israel. One is the state of Israel, which is Tel Aviv, on the coast, is secular European people, Ashkenazi Jews from German origin on the beginning. And the other is the state of Judea, which are the settlers, the religious nationalists.
The Zionists.
Well, all of them are Zionists.
Yeah.
Zionism is very divided. Zionism is a very complex ideology.
Situation. Yeah. And just tell me, Netanyahu, how much reputational damage do you think he has done to Israel with his response to the October 7th attacks?
Well, I think this is evident for everyone who looks at what happens. Israel and America are completely isolated. The rest of the world understand that no one can rely on them. The Qataris have the major base of America in the Middle West were bombed. So Saudi Arabia made an agreement, a military agreement with Pakistan, not with USA, to be defended. So I think the facts are totally for themselves. What I think in sometimes that Israel is like a car driver which is driving through a precipice. Precipice, you know?
Cliff.
A cliff.
Driving off a cliff.
Yeah, a cliff. And he's going against it. There. He knows there is a precipice, there is a cliff, but he doesn't stop. He continues. So I think it's a kind of suicide. And there is something in this sense. Hannah Arendt, one of the most known Jewish intellectuals in the 20th century, he wrote in 1947 that the Jews, the Zionists in Palestine, there was not Israel at the time, believe that they can do what they want and ask everything from the whole war. And she wrote something like, behind this optimism, there is a will for suicide. Almost 80 years ago. And I don't know. There is
that
something.
Israel was more important than people's
that the
lives.
Leadership. Yes, exactly.
Tell me, Ernesto, just looking at Netanyahu and the subsequent war on Gaza, do you think his political fate is inextricably linked to the war in Gaza? That as soon as the war in Gaza stops, people will start asking questions of him.
Yes,
on October 7th.
Of course. But there is not, Netanyahu is not the problem. In December, the 12th December 2023, there was an article in Yediot Ahronot, the biggest newspaper in Israel, and there was about soldiers died by friendly fire. And in the article a bit they say that there was a lot of complex situations the 7th of October on the first days, and he wrote exactly this war. The IDF consider that it's not morally sound to investigate. What that means? That means that they are afraid that the truth come through, that people know what's happened, because they can't repeat that Hamas killed 1,200 people because no one have investigated.
And tell me, Ernesto, just looking ahead now, do you think at some point there will be a bigger investigation in Israel or outside? into the events that led up to October 7th, those intelligence failures?
I suppose it will. I suppose it will. But we are in a very, very difficult situation. The situation, the political situation, and the geopolitical situation in the world is very, very unstable. And it's very difficult to know what will happen in the next future. At some point, the war has to stop. And Israel is there. Israel has to live with what he has done. And this is a terrible thing to live with. What will happen? I don't know. Netanyahu probably will not stay, but the problem is not him. All the establishment in Israel is the same. If you listen to the so-called left politicians or center or secular, all support the war in almost all the terms.
He has been labeled a war criminal. Do you think at some point Netanyahu could end up in The Hague? Is that too far-fetched a step?
He will take his life before that.
You think so?
I don't know.
And just tell me, looking at the future...
For that to be a reality, America has to...
actually take a step back from supporting Israel?
And I don't think they will do.
And Ernesto, just looking at the future of Gaza now, clearly there will be an incredible rebuilding operation. What do you think is going to happen?
I hope the killing stops and some kind of agreement can come in place, but I am not very optimistic. I think Zionism is climbing down, is destroying itself, but this kind of process can be very, very complicated or very hurting.
Can I ask what kind of reaction there has been to your book? You live in Sweden.
Yeah.
You've lived there for 50 years.
Yeah.
How did people in Sweden react to your book when you started speaking about what you believe happened October 7th?
Well, there was two types of reactions. From the established newspapers was silence, silence. There was a couple of papers that accused me to be an anti-Semitic and to have denied the Holocaust, even if in the book I tell the case of many relatives to me that died in the Holocaust.
So they branded you anti-Semitic in Sweden, and you were of Jewish heritage yourself?
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Okay. The establishment does that. I suppose in England it's the same. And the other thing, on the activists, the people that support Palestine, I have been in all Sweden talking about the book. And the book has been reprinted.
And can I ask, have you had any interaction with Israelis or people who may have picked up the book or read the headlines about what you've found in your investigation?
I sent the book to some Israelis, but I didn't hear nothing. I think it's very difficult for them to manage.
It's very raw, clearly, what has happened on October the 7th.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm struck by what you said about the investigation in Israel running to 19 pages. This was the worst attack in Israel's history on Israeli soil. Yeah. 19 pages of A4 is what it ran to. 19 pages.
Yeah. And it was the army, just the army. The government has done nothing. And this is very clear because if they investigate, they cannot continue to propagate these lies. And the main purpose of the propaganda, the Hasbara, is to continue to propagate these lies. This is as important for them as killing people in Gaza.
Ernesto, tell me, how shocked were you when all this started to unravel, when you started piecing together what you believe actually happened? How shocked were you compared with what you found and what was being reported in, say, tabloid newspapers in Western Europe?
Well, I was not very shocked because when my grandfather was Jewish, but we didn't know that. I realized that when I was an adult, I started to investigate. I studied quite a lot about Zionism, about Jews, about Israel, about the story of the Jews in Europe. And I understand that Zionism has been a project that all the time has this idea to conquer. And there have been many directions within the Zionism, but the dominant has been the military, especially after 77 when Menachem Begin took the power. And the only weapon they have, is accuse people of anti-Semitism. There is an investigator that say that, researchers say that the only foreign policy for Israel is anti-Semitism. They doesn't have anything more. So I was not shocked. I was shocked as all people because that's continue, and the clear intention of eliminate of the people to get rid of them, to get rid of the Gaza people. But I was not very shocked. I was in the West Bank and I saw how they go inch by inch, taking land, reducing the Palestinian life, complicating the life of Palestine, curtailing their rights on the means for life.
Ernesto Katzenstein, thank you so much for joining me on Roundtable today. Remember, you can see more discussion and debate on our YouTube channel. Search for Roundtable TRT World, and if you like what you see there, please do hit that subscribe button. But for now, from me, Enda Brady, and all the team here in Istanbul, goodbye, and thank you for watching.